I wasn't planning on doing a video. I really wasn't planning on doing a video on Super Tuesday because I'm not a wonkish guy. I'm not a micro policy guy. I'm more of a, the show's more cultural. I leave it to the talking heads. I just think that they're wrong. What do I think is happening today? I don't think there maybe could, I just can't picture a better case scenario for President Trump. By the way, I have a bit of a shoulder injury, so it was too tall of an order to film my own video, so my wife is filming today. See, just for verification, see, I just squeezed her posterior. That's the beauty of having a ring. I can do it whenever I want. I don't need consent. So I do want to hear your opinions on Super Tuesday. I think Donald Trump must be just gleeful right now. Spilled his celebratory Diet Coke all over his McDoubles because Bernie Sanders. This is the equivalent. Bernie Sanders will light a house fire and walk away laughing. That's what's going to happen here. So the best case scenario for Democrats would have been a very clear winner, right? Whether it's Bernie, whether it's Biden, take your pick. It still would have been ideal for there to be a clear-cut winner. Elizabeth Warren is not doing well. Apparently, she's not dropping out because I have to subscribe to these newsletters, and she was asking for more money, which probably not the best investment at this point. I think you could probably purchase some stock in New Coke and do better. But there's this idea too that first off, let me kind of segment this. If Elizabeth Warren drops out, people are assuming that all of her voters will go to Bernie. I don't believe that's the case. I think it might be a 60-40 split to Bernie versus Biden. Okay, so even if Elizabeth Warren drops out, that's really a non-issue. I don't think it affects the primary sort of conflict here, which is Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is not going to concede. So this is going to be dirty. It's going to go all the way to convention, and whoever wins is going to be hobbling, into the general. And here's something else that I noticed with Bernie Sanders, right? He's attacking Joe Biden. Donald Trump should just be taking notes. If you look at the speeches that Bernie Sanders delivered, or the main speech that he delivered yesterday on Super Tuesday, I don't know where he was delivering the state. It escapes me right now. The things that he espoused, the policies he espoused that got the biggest cheers were actually very similar to Donald Trump's. The things that he espoused that are most palatable to middle Americans, right? That sort of Rust Belt where we think Bernie would do well. He said he was opposed to the war. Right? And he said, Joe Biden voted for the war. I was opposed to the war. Guess who else was opposed to the war? Donald Trump. He said, Joe Biden has supported these horrible trade agreements. Now, listen, whether you think Donald Trump's right or wrong, I think it really is inarguable that Donald Trump has done more to reverse course on our, at least sort of the standard trade policy that we've had, whether it's NAFTA or TPP, than any president in modern history. So these things got thunderous applause from Bernie Sanders. And I think, by the way, it's probably going to be Biden in the general. So what's Donald Trump going to do? He's basically going to attack Joe Biden the same way that Bernie Sanders has. Bernie Sanders is already providing this contrast to this elitist Joe Biden to the point. And here's something else that I think is important too. Bernie's going to drop out. Let's assume this scenario. If Bernie wins, he's probably going to lose. Okay. The likely scenario is that Biden wins. Okay. So if Biden wins, Bernie drops out. I think that a lot of the talking heads, again, I think they're wrong. You let me know what you think. I could be wrong. Listen, Charles Krauthammer got it right 50% of the time. He was one of the best ever. I figure me here in my office, Jordan Peterson, look, it's very clean. I probably don't really have that much of a shot. But if Bernie drops out, people are assuming, well, they'll get in line and support the Democrats. No, I think that most of the Bernie bros, right, the brown shirt brigade, they're either not going to vote or I think that a surprising amount of them will actually vote Donald Trump if they do, as opposed to Joe Biden. Not saying a majority, not saying a plurality. This is one thing that I'm pretty fortunate to have with, over 1 billion views now on YouTube. I guess we're going to do a 1 billion view live stream party when we cross it, as well as the Young Turks subscribership. Behind the scenes, we are over 1 billion, but some of the videos got removed from YouTube. Anyway, I digress. We'll do a 1 billion video stream, but this has provided me with some analytics to see that we had a lot of people who were coming in angry, who were Bernie bros, back in 2016 when we would do the, Medicare for all, socialized healthcare, and we always took aim at Bernie because Hillary Clinton was the coronation, Bernie Sanders was the movement candidate. I think you're seeing that here right now. It's a repeat with Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. We could see a lot of former Bernie bros turn into Trump supporters for couple of reasons, mainly anti-establishment. They felt that it was rigged against Bernie, which, by the way, I don't know is altogether an illegitimate argument. It is kind of ironic to me that you have a party that has super delegates, but they're against the Electoral College. It just seems like they want to choose who the nominee is, who the president is, right? They want it to be a coronation. In a general election, they want the president to be chosen by Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. I don't know why I went right to, depending on where the map is. My right, your left. And then they have superdelegates where they want to effectively, I don't know if it's rigged, that's the system they have, but it allows them more control over who the nominee is, certainly to usurp the will of the American people. So a lot of Bernie voters, I think, will go to Trump for the same reasons they went to Trump over Hillary Clinton. Anti-establishment, and then again, the idea of trade, the idea of being anti-war. That's a wash between Bernie and Donald Trump, but it's actually a leg up for Donald Trump in contrast with Joe Biden, who is seen as more of a war hawk. Something else that I think is important to note here. Well, first off, let's call that the Hillary Clinton effect, okay? The Hillary Clinton effect. Hillary Clinton was seen as elitist, establishment, and the Rust Belt, they didn't like her because she was basically, funded by Wall Street donors and foreign money. So they thought, all right, Donald Trump is anti-establishment, maybe he represents us more. If it's Joe Biden, you're going to get that effect times 10. Can you think of anyone more establishment than Joe Biden? Keep in mind here, this is something that people are missing. To give you an idea how establishment Joe Biden is, that's the only reason Barack Obama picked him. The only reason that he picked the guy who said you can't walk into a 7-Eleven without a slight Indian accent, the guy who said, Barack Obama is pretty clean cut for I think he said for a colored gentleman or a Negro, something that's offensive, that's not really offensive. Anyways, he had a lot of gas, kind of racist. I don't think he's racist. The gas were perceived as racist. The only reason Barack Obama picked Joe Biden was because here was this unknown senator with effectively no track record and a Muslim-sounding name running for the highest office in the land, and at that point he was seen as kind of a radical leftist. Someone who was certainly to the left of Clinton's, as we had known in the past. Socialist was a word thrown around. And to appease the moderate Democratic establishment, to show that he could play ball with the people who have suckled at the government teat for their entire life, he handpicked Joe Biden to say, look, my running mate is a guy who not only has racist gas, who not only is whiter than Larry Bird, but he has not worked in the private sector or ever held a private job for the last 30 or 40 something odd years. Joe Biden was picked by Barack Obama because he couldn't possibly be more establishment, and that's what Barack Obama needed. So now we have Hillary Clinton times 10, Joe Biden, who is in an all-out turf war with Bernie Sanders, who has shown and outwardly spoken that if he wins a plurality of the vote, he will burn all of this shit down and not care. I can't imagine a scenario that is better for President Donald Trump going into the general, but I reserve the right to be wrong. Still hoping for Elizabeth Warren to be on the show. Let me know your thoughts on the Super Tuesday, I guess, and please do think of subscribing to Mug Club. That's what funds us. We're not funded by Al Jazeera or Buddy Roman. Funded by mugs.